Alright, welcome back to ArchiHacks. Today is the first day of 2022. Don't you feel like the time is flying? Honestly, for myself, it felt like ever since the lockdown, everything has been a blur. And really felt like if I don't set up a solid goal every year, I feel like I'll totally end up not doing anything. So this year, I figured I'll set up a few New Year's resolutions to become a better designer and reach a full potential this year. So these tips won't only apply to students and professionals, but also all kinds of design disciplines. So if you have any friends and family who might find this helpful, feel free to share this with them and share the love, I guess. And yeah, let's get started. First, New Year's resolution for myself is consistency. And the inspiration from this goal comes from the quote, "Do something as if you are breathing." If you think closely about it, breathing is a bit of a freaky thing. It's something that we do so naturally, yet it's crucial to our survival. And I started wondering, what if I can do something as if I'm breathing? So naturally, so subconsciously, maybe this is what it feels like to become a master at something. If you're able to do your craft as if you're breathing, then I think at that point, I would say you've become a master at that. Or at least you're well on your way to becoming a master. So similar to breathing, mastery of any craft comes from being able to do something that naturally. Try immersing yourself in that craft so that you almost dream about it. Every time you go down the street, every time you see something, you see a photograph, listen to music, try to find ways to connect it back to what you are passionate about. And I assure you, eventually that'll help you become a master at something and find inspirations in ways that you have never imagined before. And on the flip side, if you are already doing something like that for something, then you're already probably on your way to becoming a master. So I want to recommend taking some time off to think about what are some things that you do every single day so that you consciously slip in some habits that you want to do and remove some things that you think aren't very helpful for the future. So for myself, I'm going to be a little bit more critical about how much time I spend on mobile game. Very guilty of that, but I will try to tone that down, and instead with that time, I'm going to try to read some more books. And these things don't have to be limited to gaming and reading. This can be, exercise, sketching, painting, and designing in general. And feel free to modify this to make it work for your passion. So one example that I thought was very interesting for architecture students in particular, is 1 week, one project. So these guys set out to do one architectural project every single week. I know it sounds impossible if you're in a crazy deadline week. I don't know how these guys do it. I remember they weren't doing it every week at some point, but it seems like they're still doing it, so kudos to them. If you don't have the time, maybe you can do one project per month, and if you have more time, one project per week could be a good goal. But the point is that you do this consistently. In the beginning, don't worry too much about the quality or the quantity. Just focus on doing it. And for example, if you're doing something weekly, then don't worry about which day of the week that you're doing it. The point is to do it on some day of the week. Always start simple and just commit to doing something no matter the excuses. You have to do it. And as for myself, I'm going to try to read, as I mentioned before, and my goal won't be like reading one book per week. I found that went horribly wrong back in 2018 for me. So instead, I'm gonna try to do 1 page per day and see how that goes. 1 page should be like really no problem. Even if I'm like super busy, I think I should be able to do 1 page. And the chances are, once I get started, I will probably end up reading more than 1 page. And yeah, if I do this at my bedtime, I will probably end up doing that instead of mobile games. So I'm hoping that this will work. Let's see how that goes. So that was the number 1 tip, and let's move on to the second one. So the second resolution of the year goes hand in hand with the first one. That is to make small incremental improvements every single time I do something. And yeah, and what's important about this goal is that I don't aim for perfection from the beginning. There won't be like a fixed goal that I'm going for every time, but the idea is to make 1% difference every single time. And you'll be surprised, like this conscious effort to make 1% difference will compound into something unimaginably huge in the future. And that's gonna be really different from like not making any improvements at all. So let's take sketching for example. If you sketch the same thing every single day, then I guess you will be really good at sketching that one thing, but you will lack flexibility, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to say that you have become a master at sketching. So challenge yourself to sketch something a little bit, just a little bit more difficult and more challenging outside of your comfort zone every single time. And before you realize, you will be sketching all kinds of different things as if you are breathing. At least that's the plan. That's how I'm going to approach this. So we'll see how that goes. Whether you are looking to improve your sketching or become more fit, try to make small difference every week and every time you go out to do something. And I assure you that this will add up to a big difference down the road. All right, and third goal is to persist. So this is something I need to almost say consciously, because there were days in 2021 where I felt like I was having a hard time doing all these things. And that can be things like work getting really busy, lack of motivation, burning out. Sometimes I run out of ideas, and sometimes I just fall into like a negative cycle. There can be unsuccessful attempts to do something, for example, competitions or any kind of applications to school or program. If you don't make those, it can be really discouraging, honestly. I find that it's important that we devise a plan so that we can pick ourselves back up without, pushing ourselves too hard to a point that we burn out. I thought a little bit deeply about what drives me to run this YouTube channel, for example. And I realized that I'm committed to a long-term vision of, spreading useful and helpful ideas to architecture students all around the world. And the second of all, there's a huge number of people that are kind of waiting to get quality contents from us. And this is not something that we set out to do in the beginning, but now that we have a huge following and reach to, the global audience, we find almost a responsibility to deliver good and helpful contents. And after answering a lot of comments, doing portfolio consultation calls, I know for a fact that somewhere in our audience, they're gonna end up designing, contributing to landmark projects. And someone in our audience is going to become the next star architect. So it's time to kind of take our job kind of seriously. Then knowing the influence that you have around you is going to be essential motivation for myself going into 2022. However, that is not to say that there won't be any blockers. All these things will still happen, and I'm putting in a couple fail-safes. So number one, if I feel like the goal is a little too lofty, then I will adjust my goals. That's pretty straightforward, but not to the degree that it becomes too easy that I'm not reaching my full potential. So it's gonna be a bit of a fine balance, but we'll see how that goes. Second thing is to take a break every time I feel a little burnt out or need some ideas. And this isn't to say just do it without any plans. I think it's important that you do this very consciously. Set a fixed amount of time and think about how that's going to be helpful and go into the break. I think this is probably the more responsible and strategic way to take breaks, and as long as that is in place, and I think taking break is honestly really good. And last but not least, go out to ask advice. There is probably someone out there, actually tons of people out there, who's been exact same place as you have been right now. And chances are they have probably experienced the same problems that you're facing today. And Not that everything is going to be exactly the same, but being able to get the wisdom from them is going to save you a lot of time and give you results probably sometimes better than you could have ever hoped for. Don't be afraid to reach out to those people and go out to find them. And on that note, if you have any questions about your portfolio and career, feel free to book a portfolio review session with us in Archeax. Link will be in the description, and I'll see you there. And last but not least, the fourth resolution of 2022 is not settling for yesterday's success. Many of our audience members probably have something that you're proud of in the past. This can be winning a competition, this can be getting an excellent mark at a certain course, or you might just be really proud of your previous studio project, and that is totally fine. You should definitely stop and smell the flower and appreciate the achievement that you have made. During that process, maybe try to find out what might have gone well and try to replicate that in the future. And better yet, kind of take your previous success as a motivation to push yourself even further for the next goal that you can make for yourself. So if you have won, let's say, a small competition within your school, try going off for your city competition. If that goes well, go for a provincial level. If that goes well, go for national and then international. Before you realize it, this small incremental improvements combined with consistency, as we mentioned before, is going to add up to something a lot bigger than you've imagined. Just winning like a school award may not have connected directly with winning a international competition, but if you take these little steps to motivate yourself to the next level, then over the years, over these months and years, you will end up somewhere way better than you have previously imagined possible in the beginning. So yeah, these are the things I have in mind for this year, and I'm pretty confident that these things will be helpful to our audience members, whether that be your student, professional, and in other different industries. I wish you the best of luck and successful 2022. And we'll be pushing out more useful contents to this channel. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.